future of AI for non-coders? Good question. Basically, if you want to make money, have a career, or have job security, you need to have AI skills. That's on the TLDR, basically. Okay, so we got YouTube back up. All right, cool. I'm live streaming on YouTube. Everything is. She's like, I'm on the phone today. She's like, John, why aren't you live streaming on YouTube? So I'm back. Okay, so awesome. No, I appreciate each of you. So let's recap. Basically, what we're saying here is that number one, just on a high level view, every company it right now. Let me highlight Eric in the community who said this the best. Every company is having the AI discussion right now with leadership. This week and the last month, all of them are having the discussion to say, what are we doing about AI? It's mandatory. Every company is like, hey, what's our AI strategy? Large, small, doesn't matter. Everyone this quarter is trying to figure out what is their AI strategy. And also, then when you think of, for, I don't want to say for everyone else, the number one skill sets that basically to have for AI in 2025 is AI literacy. I define AI literacy as being able to work with different AI tools, not just ChatGPT. There's many different tools. You have to be what I like to say is flexible so that when a new tool comes out, like Google Gemini 2.5, to be adaptable to say, oh, I'm going to play. I do two levels of like, call it training. Level one is play with the tool with no objective, spend 45 minutes a day just dabbling with a new tool. Just press the buttons, have it do stuff, have no business objective, no monetary objective, and just play with AI. The business specialist, what's up? That's level one. Level two is from those skill sets of you just playing, pressing the buttons, dabbling, just testing stuff. Then when the time comes that you're like, oh, I have a, what will happen is, oh, I have a project or task I have to do. Doing it the old way I've been doing for the last 6 months or a year is very time intensive, and I'm like, I could waste. I could. What actually happens is I don't have the time to actually execute on that task. It's usually the pain point, especially for me that I've noticed. I need to do something different. And that's where you're going to go into your toolkit of where you played with those tools just for fun. That you're like, oh, wait, I played with GenSpark. I had to just do a very simple report and made it build a website, and it was pretty nifty, and that was cool. And it searched the web and answered some questions and did a nice report. That was pretty cool. Then when you're like, oh, I have an hour to do an AI for a real estate presentation. I don't have I don't have Manus. Well, it's not that I don't have Manus, but I ran out of Manus credits, and I need to actually like get this done. And what are my I can't do it manually. There's not enough time. Then that's when you're gonna pull these skill sets out of your back pocket to actually use in a professional, both professional or business side. That's what I've always found. It happened with Gling. I was like, oh, I need to edit a whole course in a weekend. I don't have the time to edit a course in a weekend. I need to do something different. And I searched my brain. I was like, what AI tool out there is a video editor? Gling. Let me try Gling. Played with it, and I was like, this is perfect. And then executed. Same thing with GenSpark. Same thing with Gemini. I would not be able to build apps on Lovable if it wasn't for Gemini. And so that's where they all kind of build on top of each other. So AI literacy as a whole is more of the skill set that you're able to do these two levels. Level number one is just play with the tools. It comes out, just play with it. You don't have a use for it. You don't have an objective. You don't have just play with the tools. Then level two is proficiency, where you're like, oh, I need to use this for a task, for a business, for a project, or something like that. That's what I would consider as literacy, because because it's not defined as a specific set of tools, more or less, because every every, every professional is uses a set of, let's call it, 10 different tools to do your job basically, or do your career, or run your business. There's a lot more, especially in business. All of those are going to evolve very quickly over time. So when I used to use Otter for like, I think it was Otter for voice notes, that got replaced with Fathom. I bought Fathom, but now I'm going to replace I'm sorry. I bought Fireflies. I tested all of the features of Fireflies, and now I'm going to eventually land on Fathom for the price, because there eventually is going to be some freer, more affordable alternative. That's kind of like the curve. They come out, they're super expensive, they do some of the features, and then they have no basically IP moat that some competitor is going to quickly come in, either a larger corporation like Google coming in and absorbing lovable market and stuff like that. Plot is the most useful for me. Yes. Actually, I want to invite you, Post Architect, on a call if you're, because you're very interesting as far as like what the stuff you're doing. So I'd love to invite you on a call and you could talk about Plaid or Plod real quick and how you've been using it. This will be something. So say yes. Okay, cool. Let's try it. Because I also want to start inviting guests on my show, almost like a Johnny Carson, Jay Leno type thing. And then we can all learn together, which is dope.
Is the video camera working?
Perfect. You don't have to be on camera if you want, optionally. Don't worry.
I want to be on camera.
Yeah.
There it is. All right.
It's a new skill set too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yo!
I'm going to, going from the plot thing, I'm going to say this like legit. I thought it was a scam. I can use my phone. I can record messages. I can shove it to the cloud. Somebody can do it. But what I find more and more is that...
Can I pause you real quick? First, introduce yourself. I would love to know.
Yeah. My fault. Yeah, we'll do that. So, my name's Dale Adams.
Dale, pleasure.
Basically, I got into AI consulting over the past year and a half. I have a consulting business here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
I've been talking to and focusing mainly on small and medium-sized businesses.
Nice.
Kind of what you were talking about earlier. I think these businesses have the biggest opportunity to be able to onboard and understand how these businesses can transform their actual growth and revenue going forward. And small businesses are literally under 200 employees, right? We're not talking 15 to 20 is a good range, but I think there's startups and 15 to 20 becomes hard. And I think anything over 15 to 20 starts to become a little easier, because somewhere in that area, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources to kind of really invest in something that might be beneficial to them right away, but you're trying to help them understand.
Nice.
Having that conversation, I think, is also really, really important going forward. Being able to help them go, hey, here are some tools. I'm just going to give you this knowledge. You guys can go do with it what you want, is also a valid thing. So I thought, and going back to this idea, right, I thought Plod was kind of like, okay, I can definitely not use this. It's not necessary. I already know the workflow. I can work around it. And to be honest, I bought it for more of a affiliate marketing. Hey, I'm going to just kind of see if this is worthwhile or not. Maybe put a link in. And it ended up being more beneficial than I could ever thought.
Awesome.
Because it's always on you. Like, you can carry it everywhere. And I love the video conferencing stuff. Those are all great. But what they don't have, at least not from my experience, is they don't have 30 templates that can define what the prompt is, and you just choose it, right? You're a consultant. You know what the prompt's going to put. You're asking questions. So that becomes really, really beneficial when you're like going to an in-person meeting. And you can take that. It's automatically transferred. The whole process is there. Once again, that comes back to cost savings as far as your time goes.
Right.
And moving that conversation forward, taking that conversation and that template that you have for whatever that is, and it could be anything, right? Like, it doesn't have to be consulting. It could be a general conversation. I've used it with my friends. We're talking about AI, remembering that conversation and getting inspired, and then taking that conversation and putting it into Gemini 2.5 is my new favorite thing. I think you kind of realized that through this as well. Like, I was like, out of the gate, I was like, this is a whole new thing. Like,
Wow.
we're not even playing around anymore. I can upload this data. It all of a sudden can spit out the conversation, and I can ask it questions way better than any other AI out there. And I think that's the conversations to be able to convert into what you, I think, are also a part of is this idea of moving the conversation with the client forward quicker, right?
Right.
Like I can have a conversation, turn it into a proposal, and that proposal takes now like maybe a day versus 4 days, like down the road after
Hmm.
you have other clients and all that. So now you can turn it over quicker if they don't not interested, out of their cost, whatever their budget is. You can move on and go on to the next client and kind of iterate faster and find the clients that are beneficial. Sorry, didn't mean to hog. I
No,
get
this
super
is great.
excited.
I have so many
Yeah.
questions, but I've noticed the same thing since for me as a consultant, when I'm on one-on-one with the client, I can no longer keep up with manual notes. So then I went with Fireflies and Fathom, or mostly Fireflies, and then I'm like, oh, this is great, even better. And then also video recording, and I'm like, because I'm trying to minimize the time of the after work,
Yep.
send them the information that they need, and then I can quickly move on. And so that's one of the biggest things. So talk to me about the workflow of like how a day in the life plan. You just start the day, hit record, and then when do you start switching into like Gemini?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's you're having the conversations. For me, I always ask permission first because it's a plot note right now, so it's
Okay.
like they can or can't see it. So I'll ask and say, hey, can I record this? It's not going to be like a video recording. It's going to be
Okay.
more of a, what are your needs? What are your requirements? What are you thinking about? And then you start that actual meeting, and then it takes that conversation and turns it into actual points that can be generated later. And so with
Gotcha.
Claude, it has an app that is on your phone, transfers the information to your phone first. Hey, it's Bluetooth. You can do a Wi-Fi connection, and it does it faster. And then you take that information and uploads it to the cloud, takes the conversation, turns it into really, really quick notes. And then you can go, okay, here's the translation. Here's the template that I'm using currently. Some are free, right? Like some of them you get for free. I think it's worth the paid version. I got the paid once again, like they get you, right? Like it's like this, oh, I really don't need this. Let me test it out. Okay, this is kind of cool. I'm not gonna pay for it. I'm just gonna pay the $160, and I'll use the free versions. Then they go, hey, here's the pro versions for a week. And you're like, oh, this is way better prompt results than what I would have got on my own. And I'm like, okay, I can see where this is beneficial now too. And it becomes like just an iterative, faster workflow.
Yeah.
And then it gets uploaded and you take that. And I haven't worked on a workflow of like automatically putting that to Gemini 2.5 yet. But
Hmm.
the way I have it right now is it's a copy and paste currently. And then I go and have a basic outline of my AI maturity model that I've developed,
Hmm.
where it's like, how do you move people from what we call awareness to the next level, which is foundational, which is where you kind of understand, you have an idea, people in your organization are using AI, but it's all ad hoc. I
Hmm.
have people, I have this, and everybody's kind of doing it on their own. How do you develop those systems to make that process inside the organization work better together than everybody working separately, doing their own thing, copying and pasting, right? So I have that sort of AI maturity model that I use that I put into Gemini that says, hey, take this conversation, please use obviously this particular AI maturity model that we've developed and put together a proposal. And then from there, it spits out this proposal. And then once again, we're just curating and trying to find the best parts. Gemini 2.5 has a lot of the best parts and less of the worst parts, where you're like
Nice.
trying to change the wording, and it has obviously the million context window that kind of changes everything.
Yeah.
And for me, I think right now I was kind of hesitant about taking the maturity model and my own sort of thing that we worked on and putting it in there. But in the end, I'm like, no, the results are way faster, way better, and eventually the API will be there, and it gets lost in the mix of all the words anyway. So there, if someone else can benefit from what I've donated to train their model, then so be it, man. That's
Yeah.
the way I look at it, for
for
sure.
for playing with these new tools, what we're able to do now, I was watching a comment and they're like, oh, something, whatever, DeepSeek, I don't want you to have my data. And I was like, you are missing out on so much of like, there's playing with the tools, getting farther advancement. They're going to evolve, they're going to change over time. Keep playing, don't be stuck with one tool. I'm really I'm sold on. There's different ones I've seen, but you chose Plaid was like the best one out of all of them that you're like dope.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I saw a bunch of them, right? Through TikTok, honestly, like it comes up on my feed because hey, you like AI? Here's AI, and I mean, like for months, I was like, no, no, I can already solve this problem. And even like my other friend that's kind of in the space was like, yeah, why do I need that? I don't need to pay for that. And I was like, let me just make a video about it, and I'm getting ready to release a video,
Right.
right? Like, and it's like, let me make a video about it, and then I'll send it back. And then the more and more I use it, I was like, I'm not sending it back. It's definitely a part of the workflow.
Yeah.
And I think also from a consulting point of view, right? It's so small and tiny. Like I have a neighbor who works for, and this is a true story. He's going to be part of the video coming out, where he works for a glass company, right? They install windows. He goes to people's houses. He writes down the measurements. He does all of that.
Oh, yes,
and then he takes those measurements and then copies them over and puts them in the computer. And I'm like, hey, let's save you like this 2-3 hours that it takes you to take one point to an invoice that can be sent to a proposal, right? Like, let's save that time and see if we can. And I was like, take this to work. And he's like, dude, this is different. Like, I don't have to write the thing down. I could take it. And we did like, it doesn't really miss. Like he's still going to write stuff down just to make sure the measurements, because they're really important, obviously. Right. You don't want to mess that up. But like consistently, like you can just take what it outputs and copy and paste it and putting it over instead of looking at it, typing it. You know what I mean? Like, and these are the use cases that I think people need to think about with AI. Like the simple, low risk, and how do you have a backup to make sure that it's doing what you need it to do until you trust it enough and it gets better enough, and you've trained the model on a specific thing that is beneficial to your job. Like, and that's the onboarding I think that we need to see really quickly in the next couple of years. Well, in the next year, really, to be honest.
Yeah, the hardest part is making the shift of like changing your workflow, having a backup. And then once you're getting more acclimated to the different features, and there's always like the limitations, what it can is so you get more accustomed to that part, and then once you switch off, then you're never going back. You're like, this is way more efficient, allows me to produce more with less effort. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, with the two different categories of small and medium-sized businesses, where do you feel that when it comes to AI that they start and grow into?
I think there's two, right? And the way we're kind of approaching it is different. And I wanted to quickly touch base with Yoti. Gemini is not 4.0. Gemini is 2.5 currently. I think it's Pro now. Correct. It's not experimental anymore. And so those are the difference. 4.0 is the obviously more acclimated or more known for the OpenAI version, right? So just to kind of clarify what we're talking about when I say Gemini 2.5. 2.5 is available on their AI Studio, and it's not available in any other way currently. I don't think the API is open yet. So any data that you type into 2.5, like the original OpenAI, kind of goes to training their thing. So if you have like some sort of government contract, or don't recommend using that. Right? Like, we don't want you to give away any sort of training data that might be available for other people to understand. And the question was what again? Sorry about that.
Yeah, so, no, excellent and touchy, because a lot of people, because this changes so fast, and a lot of people are like, is that a Is a Ford and stuff? So,
it's hard to keep up.
It's so hard. We're
leapfrogging over. We're playing Frogger every day.
Yeah, right? It's like new week, new tools, new numbers. Is that the 2 point? What's the version now? We're like, with organizations, small and medium size, when they start to, because right now I started off in saying every CEO right now is having the conversation, what is our AI strategy? Small, large, and even, we'll leave the enterprise just separate kind of thing. On a
Yeah.
small to medium sized level, what do you find is the either areas that they should start with or solutions that they should start to focus on?
As we started to develop our maturity model, I think the biggest area that a company can focus on is the most low risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's how the maturity model works best in consulting as well. Like, how do you go about implementing small changes that are low risk inside the organization? Customer service is one, although you don't want to change it too drastically with customer service and front facing things to clients as well. But like also at the same time, you want to implement those inside the organization. They're fairly low risk. And then after that, you can start to build out these workflows, as we're starting to call them, AI automations inside the organization that also have low risk, right? Like, hey, how do we generate a specific newsletter? This is a thing that I kind of did, a project I did recently where in the Web3 space, there's these communities organized around a specific protocol or a specific blockchain, and they have meetings every week. And it was like, how can we take this meeting and turn it into a newsletter? Because we want people to know about it. It becomes marketing material. So I was like, we can do this fairly easily, right? Like, all we have to do is have a recording, get a transcription, take that. And I think the hardest part of that is taking that transcription and having it have a brand voice. That's where the tough part is, and getting it to where it's like, what, in this case, the example was, what is it's an hour-long meeting. What would normally take 3 hours? How do we get it down to, now it's down to 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. And the way that workflow works is I build it inside of ClickUp, right? We take an hour-long meeting. It was basically a video meeting. So I was like, okay, let's post it to YouTube. YouTube does all the hard work. You don't even have to post it to YouTube. You can list it as unlisted inside of our particular platform. We have the ability to use a YouTube link. It takes the transcription, turns it into, with the prompt, the correct prompt, turns it into the newsletter that we required. Took a little bit of work, obviously. It's not going to spit out the best thing. Well, 3-4 months ago, once again, when you build it out, right? It's like 3 or 4 months ago, it's like, okay, we had to work a lot. Like, it was like, okay, we want to go from 70% to 90% as the best case scenario. We got it to like 98%. We just kind of scan through it now. It looks good. We send it out. It creates a audio version of the newsletter to send out as well. Through obviously using 11 Labs, and takes that, because I feel like here's something that people can think about, and this is something I've thought about for a while. Tell me what you think, Jonathan.
Right.
The way I see this is, I get so many newsletters. I subscribe to way too many bargain things.
Right.
Like, because you sign up for a service, you sign up for the newsletter, you want to know when things happen. And I'm like, why are these not like turned into their own little podcast that you can listen to? If you're traveling, right, you don't have time to read all your newsletters. Right. You can just listen to them in the car. If you want to on a jog, I don't recommend using them on a jog, but whatever.
Yeah.
So an audio version seems like such a bigger opportunity that's kind of being missed there. So we kind of turned it in. We turned that one into an audio newsletter as well. And then we took that using Hey Jen. We took that version, condensed it down, because Hey Jen, now it won't take 1,000 words. So we did a 1,000-word newsletter. Now it's down to a 2.5-minute video, which is like, I don't even remember what it is.
Wow.
The thing.
Right.
And then we sent it over to Hey Jen. We did a character, a 3D character that one of the people inside of our DAO, which is a decentralized organization, used. They created it. We worked together. It's a talking head video, automatically generated. All I have to do inside of ClickUp, which is the main thing, is change the status. So we have ClickUp that we have, and basically here's the workflow. You have a chatbot.
Right.
It sends a webhook out to ClickUp. ClickUp says, hey, I just got this notification, creates the task, everything's inside of ClickUp.
Right.
Here's the actual transcript of what I'm thinking for the newsletter for 1,000 words. And then we go inside of ClickUp, we change the status symbol to editing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't do anything. We're just editing the actual thing, making sure it's right, making sure that we're curating, doing our job.
Okay.
Editing to now we're going to create the newsletter and the audio that goes with it. So it creates the newsletter, creates the HTML for the newsletter because it can't just be text,
Right.
and attaches the actual audio version from 11 Labs to that newsletter. That newsletter doesn't go out yet,
Right.
because we want to make sure, right? Like we want to have another step in there. So we have somebody else go, okay, we're going to send this out now. They approve it. It goes out. And then we go, okay, now that that's been approved,
Mm-hmm.
we do another status change inside of ClickUp, and it creates and goes to HeyGen. Well, it goes to a Make workflow.
Right.
All of these workflows are inside of Make currently.
Beautiful.
And so it creates the Make, goes to the Make workflow that says, HeyGen, create this. We'll condense it down using, I think we're currently using, I want to say OpenAI and Make is probably what we're using currently.
Okay.
And so it creates that into an actual script that's 2.5 minutes long, just enough to keep people's attention. If they want to watch it, they can stay up to date, highlights, and then it creates the actual talking head video that we then take and kind of do a small amount of editing on, not a lot, just in case, once again, there's something there, right? We don't want to post it to social media immediately. Once again, another just approval process in making sure that the quality is there. And then we take that and post it to TikTok and another social media thing. I think Instagram maybe.
Brilliant. Yeah, because all the same sentiments are like people are like, I don't have time for like a newsletter to read it, especially if you're coming out of a meeting it's super long. People need these updates, and then they want to consume it on different forms, whether it be podcasts. Because I'm playing with 11 Labs, and I was like, oh, like all newsletters should have an audio version, like just listen in it, and then I'd rather listen to that in a nice voice. And I like how you go into start with the low hanging, low risk, especially in customer service. That makes a lot. Yeah, definitely low. I'm coming from like the marketing side and just like looking at marketing and automation, but there's very high risk, very high margin for error, especially for breaking that side. That is wild. So next thing would be, where do you see over the next 6 months how AI is going to play out for everyone, as far as like new tools, of course, coming out and stuff like that, people changing the workflows, having to be a very adaptable kind of thing, and then let's go just the
the way I see things happening, and this is a conversation that I've started with my own self in the past 5 days. I'll go short term. The next 6 months, I think, is a lot of having a lot of these conversations with a lot of people, right? Like, I think we need to start doing as much onboarding as we can, and have people understand how can I make either my business better, or how can I become more adaptable in this changing environment, right? Like, I think it's changing so fast, and I think I want people to understand that I'm not here to say AI is taking your job. That's not the case. But what I will say is that this skill of AI is going to be so important in keeping your job in the future. And if you're not learning on your own, your employer will hopefully upskill you, and we'd be able to develop these processes moving forward. Because what I see happening is personal computing to the internet was a 30-year time frame, and people had time to adjust, and I don't think that time frame is now probably a third of that. I would say probably even less than that, right? Obviously, AI has been building in the background for a while. I'm not going to take that away, but that's also the 70s and 80s where the internet was being built and all that process. So right now, we're seeing 30 years crunched into 10, maybe 8 is the way I see it. And how do we get as many people onboarded to use these tools, because they are going to become such an important part of business.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to start taking place in the next 6 months inside of
Yeah.
small and medium-sized businesses, which is why I'm super focused on that from a consulting aspect, because that's 50% of our economy and 50% of the economy that can't afford to get behind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they're not going to bring into politics, but the tariffs are causing small businesses to kind of reevaluate things now as well.
Yeah.
So like there's a whole bunch of things that you need to understand to have your business in order, and I think AI provides that going forward into the future as well.
I
Like,
definitely, I definitely compliment that because that's the biggest where I'm planting my flag is basically education and training, both for the
yep.
professionals and for the entrepreneurs and business owners, because to upskill themselves with what are the right tools using the new workflow, business environment. I mean, economically, everyone is going to be harder to hire more employees, but they still need to be as productive. And so we're trying to just upskill everyone so that they can keep their job, get that promotion, stay valuable to the economy, basically, because it's the differentiator. Is either you have AI skills, which is basically a little more than just ChatGPT. It's I find it's like usually around on average 6 apps that are AI specific that used to be let's say used to be PowerPoint but now it's Canva or something like that, or used to be CapCut but now it's Gleam. So it's you're just gonna switch tools. How fast you That's what I think is the most valuable skill set is your ability to um, play with a new tool to adapt because it's like play first then find the use case later. That's where you're going to keep that as a skill set to I don't want to say unlearn, but to adapt to say like, okay, this is how I used to do it before. I'm now because now I mean from me manually taking notes to now using the AI note taker to then using Plaid or Plod. That is that's such a short evolution of less than 3 months of that workflow kind of thing, which is wild.
No, I think you hit on a bunch of really great topics there because I definitely am not the alarmist, and I'm reading a book called Super Agency recently, so it's kind of kept me from being this ringing the bell, right? Like,
Right.
and that is that you need these in your tool set. You need these as a skill going forward. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's not up for you to figure out the legalities or any of the IP problems that might take place inside the organization. And the thing that you said that I really resonated with, and this is kind of what struck me, was that how can I use these and make it interesting for me personally that later will become important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the way I've approached a lot of things in my life because I have an innate infatuation with technology. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, what is this? I want to play with this. And then I'm like, oh, I figured out how to connect this to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, of course I did. But that's how your brain works, right?
Right.
Your brain figures out those patterns going forward as you look behind.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like if you have this skill set, then you're able to say, "Oh, I had that because I was going to be able to do this." But no, you had that because you found interest in it, and you have to find time to make interest in something. And I've always found creative endeavors, especially in art areas, have been really beneficial for me. Going as a former still creative technologist, that kind of is the way my brain works as well. So I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to make this project of my own, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
How do I do that? And then I build that little thing that kind of sucks. And I'm like, later on, a client comes to me and says, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z. You're like, no,
Yeah, I love that. Those moments are great.
no kidding. And that's happened more than enough times. Like, and I didn't have that skill set. So it's being prepared for the client or for the job going forward in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the best message that we could communicate with people is just spend 30 minutes a day, no business or career objective, just pick up a new tool and play with it. Just press the buttons. If you can find your own personal interest out of it, even better, but just play with it because that is going to build the wiring or foundation that later on when you start, you'll have that problem situation where you're like, oh, I have to get this done, don't have enough time, something has to be different. What else is out there in your brain will scan you, but like, hey, you know what? You actually play with that app, Lovable, and it actually was pretty cool. And it does, if you press these four buttons, it will get you something closer. And you're like, oh yeah, I could feel okay. So, and then the evolution. That's more the valuable skill set that I think, because it's not the right tool or the best that's going to out. It's that is the most that skill set that's as AI, because those time frames for upskilling yourself is going to be shorter and shorter for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think as the last one here, I told them it's the faster way of their manual research, and I'm like, yeah. Like I was literally I was doing consulting for a company a year and a half ago, and this is when it was kind of moving forward, and they were starting to become agents, and like rags were, becoming an opportunity there. And I was like, hey guys, you're an AV company. You have like one AV engineer sitting in on all of these meetings. Why don't we just build out a chatbot that the sales guys can just talk to, and it has all the manuals, hopefully able to answer all the questions a year and a half ago. Like, I mean, a year and a half is like a really short period of time. And now we're here like a year and a half later, 18 months, and it's like the progression is astronomical. Like, we were thinking about that, like, what is the onboarding process going forward? And this is something to think about, right? Like, no company wants to fire an employee because they don't know AI, but eventually they might, because it becomes easier to onboard someone that has that tool set, where if a person leaves, they're more likely to hire someone that has the capabilities of being able to speak language and do workflows for them that become more productive.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all need to think about, and that's what gets me kind of excited and passionate as well. Where in the future can you find yourself and design this opportunity for yourself? Because it's going to become as ubiquitous as a personal computer. Like, it's just kind of in that area right now so fast.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, and yes, it's companies are going to value more employees that have AI skills versus others. The ones that are quick to adapt are going to have more job security over times. But I really like how you said it's like, I don't want to be an alarmist, but at the same time, it's like there's so much opportunity, and this is still very early on for a lot of people. Everyone's still trying to figure out, like, companies, what's our AI strategy, people just getting outside of just ChatGPT and stuff from there. Where do you recommend people start with in incorporating AI into the world, as if they've just been playing with ChatGPT, for example?
I can highlight, and I think it's still really, really important, is prompt engineering. I think that's still as valuable as it was a year ago. Like, don't get me wrong, Gemini 2.5 comes out with some amazing stuff just by asking it a question. But also, I find in one of my workflows is I found Claude's console, where you can create prompts, really, really important early on, and kind of using that to kind of get my ideas, iterate on what I was trying to get, and then using those prompts to go to other platforms and test them out, and being able to, and the prompt is still the key, right? Like, we're getting better with Mixture of Experts and all of these different agent systems, but as we start to think forward about what agent systems are going to be doing, you have an agent that does X, Y, and Z. You have an agent that does X, Y, and Z, but your company is not a general company, right? You still have keywords that are part of your company. You still have a brand voice that's part of your company. And having that agent trained on your brand voice and not copying and pasting, and being able to develop your own agent system, kind of coming full circle back to what Google's kind of presenting now. Hey, we have agent spaces. You already have all of your documents here. Let's have our agents do the thing for you, and you can develop them. I think that that's a great place to be. I've been using an agent system for over a year that is our back end for our company and as something that we sell as a service for clients.
Nice.
But at the same time, you want each agent to be individual. You don't necessarily, arguably, for me, I see not wanting to be tied down to any one particular company right now. I want to be able to use the newest models that come out or an open source model going forward. Like, how do I keep myself from being tied to one particular model because each one of them is doing this leapfrog thing going forward? And I think that's super important for companies to think about. But prompt engineering is probably the first thing. And it's not about necessarily you coming up with a prompt, the best prompt. It's about going to, I know that OpenAI has this ability as well, going to the back ends, the consoles and the APIs that they make for developers, and start going, hey, here's what I'm trying to get done. What's the best way for this to prompt? And then it'll spit out a prompt for you to accomplish that. Then you can start to see what the layout of that prompt is, what is the best way to get the results. And then you start to iterate, you put that prompt in, and it's not doing what you want. Then you can start adjusting and doing your own little thing to it for your business specifically, right?
That's fascinating. Yes, I totally resonate with that because it's like the models are going to change. They're going to become, I think of them like Kirby. They're going to absorb new features and get smarter faster all the time, building the workflow, the infrastructure so that it's adaptive. And then your skill set, I mean, from one person playing with AI versus another person, the differentiator is basically how well do you prompt, how well do you explicitly, because it comes down to like software development. It's like if the computers are very smart, they're very fast and efficient, but if you don't give that explicit command, they won't do that type of action. So you have to be very explicit in your prompting and verbose, so that they know both what are you putting in, what are you looking for out, what does good look like, so it has a reference as well too. I like that you also mentioned Claude has a module or a tab where you can go to, and it's basically a prompt generator. Basically, that was one of the biggest things that inside the community people are asking, what is a good prompt generator? And there's what I call it prompt ChatGPT to have it give you a prompt. You give it you are a prompt engineer, fix my prompt so that I can use it either for a project or for a custom GPT, for example. 100% that's probably the most valuable skill set outside of just also curiosity and the play time to just play with the tools too. Those two are going to allow you to be flexible over time as new tool comes out. You're quick to adapt or evolve with them. Plus you have the foundational skill set of prompt engineering so that regardless of whatever tool, you know how to get the most use out of it as well too, for example. Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And I think and this is kind of my take on how I operate a lot of times as someone who's probably undiagnosed with ADHD. I say this. It wasn't a thing as I grew up, and then I realized probably 5 years ago, yeah, I read five non-fictional books at the same time for a reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, duh. So for me, one of the things, and this is where the human element comes in, right? And I think you started this kind of project recently as well, where you took a book and you like turned it into a game. One of the other ways I started iterating on this was I took, and I've been over the past probably, I guess 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years digitally. I'll buy a book and then I'll buy the digital version, the PDF version, and download it and use an app called Highlights. And I'll highlight the book as I'm reading it. And I think that's been super beneficial for me because of this particular workflow I have now, which is I have a book about X, Y, and Z. I have what I've highlighted as a person that I found valuable. Maybe I missed some things along the way, but as a human that read the book and read it all the way through and highlighted the parts that were important to me, I can now take those highlights, put them into a large language model or whatever chat bot that I want, and then I can say, okay, I know what this book is about. I know also what I'm working on right now. what are the interesting areas between these two that I might not, as a human, see because I haven't read the book in 5 years. These are my highlights from 5 years ago,
Right.
or I'm reading it again. I'm trying to get the best out of it. What is it that I'm not seeing that's the connection here? And I think that becomes how we become even more of a curator of our own knowledge, right? Like, and now we become even more organized. We become more valuable because we're taking our own human element and we're bringing that to the chatbots
Yeah.
with an arguable IP, maybe not an
You
IP
and I could
issue,
debate that.
but
Use
you know, I
cases.
mean, like
Yeah.
it's you start to have that conversation going forward, and now you've taken your own what you've actually read, what you actually understand, and what was important to you, and you've added that to a conversation with a large language model that can bring new value into your company that you're building or a company that you're working for.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't. I did this like with 4 books the other day that I had read like probably 8, 10 years ago and had a lot of connection with about information architecture and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't remember all of this, but let's see what happens, right? And that's kind of the plan that you're talking about earlier. How can we start to think about using these instead of a whole book that you may not have read and getting a summary or the cliff notes? What's a book that you have read that now you can apply to your job and have a different point of view that someone else might not have?
100%. It's using these new tools, especially on our own, just curiosity and learning. Playing that game for turning Think and Grow Rich into a video game, RPG game. Pulled out principles that I was like, oh yeah, and then revisit. And I think it was, I'm going to butcher this quote, but I think it was like Confucius or someone that said, "No same man steps in the same river twice." In the sense of when you reread a book, you're coming back again from a different perspective, different experiences. But the first time I actually started playing with AI was an author, Tiago Forte, who wrote the book Second Brain. And he was very early on to say, "Hey, I built a chatbot that you can chat with my book." And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean chat with your book?" kind of thing. And I went through it and played it, and I was like, "Wait, this is a whole." So it brings out a new level of learning, a new level of more interactivity, engagement instead of passive or instead of one way kind of thing. So yeah, so we got the skill sets, we've got learning with the different tools. I want to lastly ask, what would you say are some tools that you feel everyone should play with or try out that have been beneficial to your workflow?
From an AI, a deeper perspective, I think the MCP stuff is by far a game changer. And then obviously, I think Google um, dropped their whole thing, the agent system they dropped, but also like they have a whole cloud thing that I was talking about, the tensor processing units. But I would say the N8N, I think they have a protocol as well. Google came out with a new protocol, A2A protocol, I think is what they're calling it.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong on that thing, but it's like agent to agent.
Okay.
And on that note, being that this might be the last question I have, that ties into a bigger conversation that I've been thinking about lately. And that conversation goes to what is the next business model going forward? SaaS, if agents are talking to each other and it's really easy for them to do with the model context protocol, what does that do to SaaS businesses? And I think that becomes more about direct API, direct API, and like we're not paying for subscriptions as much, or the business model isn't a subscription service, right? Like it's more you're paying for API calls, and your agent you have to start buying credits, tokens as they call them, whatever they're called going forward. So that kind of changes the whole business model for a lot of startups.
Yeah.
And going forward, what what do services start to look like going forward? If I have a client where I'm building out a product or a SaaS service, how do I approach that going forward if that subscription is no longer randomly there, right? Like if I can just say, hey, here's an agent system. My agents go talk to a bunch of other agents, get the information that they need. I'm paying the cost of an API call or whatever that is. How does that change our economy going forward? And how does that change the business models within inside of SaaS companies? How do we obviously pivot? What does that look like if there's no more subscription models? And creating a service that may be, I think, more dependent on outcomes than an actual, hey, you're paying, and if you don't use it, I'm still getting paid, right? And as a consultant, this is the way I kind of start to think about what is that process? What am I actually going to get paid based on a specific outcome that we agreed to at the beginning of the contract? Or what is that going forward? And I think that's kind of where my headspace is over the past week at least.
Yeah, to kind of build on two levels in that. Level number one is every large SaaS product. Let's take HubSpot, or actually a better example would be DocuSign. DocuSign companies are paying large amounts for a DocuSign contract and seats and all of that. And then I think it was a Twitter thread or X thread where one reached out to another and said, "Oh, we're paying ludicrous amounts for it. Can we do something cheaper?" And he, whatever, Replit or level one of them, he redid a simpler version of it and then gave it away for free. Literally gutted their business model. So we're going to see on two levels. Level number one is all SaaS products have no moat. We're also seeing the next, I was actually at a middle level. The middle level is the next evolution of SaaS products where it's no longer going to be humans doing the input, data in, data out. It's going to now be managed by an agent layer. And I think of the example of voice commands to an NAN agent that is going to MCP update Go High Level or Airtable or something like that. I see that as the next evolution there. Now, on the higher level for what you're looking at is Noah Kagan from AppSumo had a very interesting podcast interview where he's very known for AppSumo and all of these apps do different functions, but he's like, now what if we just pay for the usage of the entire workflow where you said it the best, you're paying per the outcome now. So say, for example, if I want you to find me the ideal client for my business, and you send out the email, rather than build the workflow to do the scraping, to do the qualifying, to build that infrastructure, now that agentic layer is already built and managed, and you're paying per user, you're paying for end results. You're like, get me quicker to that larger project or that ROI at the other end. And that's going to be the evolution of both two different levels of SaaS, and then also how projects are going to be built, kind of like that.
Yeah, it starts to become more and more microtransactions, right?
Yeah.
Like, and whether that's the way I see it, whether that's API calls or maybe there's the layer of this is how kind of cryptocurrency can be beneficial, especially with the cost going down as well. Being able to pay, maybe it's not even like an API call anymore. Maybe it's just like as needed. Your agent talks to another agent. It's paid in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Base has low transactions right now. The fees are like down to like less than a penny. Like, and now you're just paying per interaction. Like, and you're not building out a service, and the agents are the service that automatically does the thing that connects everything together. Yeah, I think that's a really good way of kind of thinking about the future of the next 6 months to a year.
That's exciting, and in a sense of like, yeah, it's going to change both software, both how industries have to now adapt to these large bloated both org charts and also SaaS tools to now these more leaner agent on top of that's all like that is going to be. So let's think of it as organizations are going to become smaller, more leaner, use agent tools to execute larger projects faster, quicker. And then from an economy point of view, if we look at it, a vertical of industries, they're eventually going to have an API from one one supplier to the other manufacturer, something like that. So it's going to be streamlined, and then we're going to get into the whole crypto space, where basically now it's going to be digital transactions, faster speeds. Yeah, it's going to be.
What is that? So let me ask you a question. How does that change even the bigger arena and the bigger players as far as VC capital goes, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're talking about VC capital is investing on a level, but now that model that they've kind of been consistent on as a SaaS model is kind of getting. I'm sure they see this coming. I'm not telling any information that they probably don't see coming, but how does that change their game going forward as well? And does it make more sense? No, I'll let you answer the question, then I'll toss in my end.
Yeah, the way I see all large organizations, they're going to be micro SaaS or micro leaner. These, let's call them small teams with agents that are going to be able to execute whether it be functions of a larger organization, split off. I think of the analogy of Ryan Pineda, who is a real estate investor, and he's like, look, I've got all these small businesses. They all need accounting and bookkeeping. Why don't I just own the accounting and bookkeeping that does the service for all like my businesses and stuff like that? So I think we're going to see smaller, leaner teams, because I don't see larger organizations like sustaining over time, both the inflation, economy, and stuff like that. They're too bloated. I think of Salesforce, for example, and how it's been trying to be AI, but it's like they're too big to move or adapt per se. So pieces of them are going to get broken off, to where now a CRM is no longer going to have any human input. It's going to have an agent that's going to be able to connect both to the CRM and to the database to execute. And so I always think of like just how rapid prototyping and robotics has had the impact to manufacturing, where there's now the concept of a fly-by-night manufacturing kind of thing, where it's just materials in, materials out, and it's really software engineers that are managing both either maintenance or the code to optimize, but the whole input output is completely automated. That's on the physical side. I see agents as those boxes of where that's going to go.
Yeah, I think, and this is kind of the way I'm kind of positioning our company, is that there's a consulting side, and then there's this AI venture studio side. So there's a really good idea that we can iterate on that normally would have taken 18 months and 500,000 seed investment to $1 million to make happen, can now be done in 3 to 4 months to get to an MVP, find possibly a product market fit. How can we invest time and energy into that? And with less people, right? Like we are 3 people that can invest the time and take a specific amount of investment, make that project happen, see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we iterate and move on forward. Now, granted, it would suck that if it didn't work, but at the same time, that's what VCs are doing, right? And it's about getting to the end result faster. Same thing as we kind of started off with. I get to a proposal faster with a client. They choose not to go that way. I didn't waste 2 weeks of that time. I can come back to them when they're ready and start to move forward and find the fit quicker. And I think that's what AI has kind of presented us as a whole from an operating standpoint. You can do more with less inside of an organization. You need to know those tools going forward for your career. And at the same time, for those of us in the middle of it and thinking about the future, how can we also build products and services that can find an audience that can help those that we're consulting with, and we find those opportunities quicker to make something that would be beneficial for their business. And the bespoke part of it becomes part of that product, right? And you can just say, okay, now we can put all these agents together, and you can just talk to this chatbot, and it'll automatically work with you as a person and as a company, and can move your particular business forward and get to growth revenue. and that's the end goal, right? Like cost reduction is great, but the end result is what we want is revenue growth going forward into the future.
Amazing. So instead of thinking of like SaaS products, they're agentic. I don't know if I'm using the right word or agentic, but just a bucket of agents that can be deployed to do a larger function of whatever that function of the business or for the client or something like that. And then you're managing this swarm of agents that are dynamic that can execute faster, get to the result quicker, cheaper, faster. I mean, it's cost of electricity and code. Code is eating the world. Software is, as they say. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's
And it all comes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Those agents are based off of prompt engineering, right? And those prompts are coming from your particular business. Now, whether you have a consultant that does that, whether you have someone inside your organization that knows how to do that to accomplish your goals, that is where being able to utilize your prompt engineering school, I still think is very, very valuable. Or if you're not prompting them, you're able to understand how to get the results that your organization, your company is looking for.
That's wonderfully full circle. It's like, yes, as we get into AI and all the different tools and workflows and the evolution of business and SaaS, it all comes down to your skill set, fundamentals, just prompt engineering, being able to be flexible, playing with different tools. They all function relatively the same. Once you play with one, you'll pick up the skills that will build upon the others. But then being able to prompt them correctly is how you're going to have a quicker result out than anyone else.
And that's exactly right. And Vodi's copy here has kind of, asked that very same question. I think that small companies will scale up faster, especially now, and be able to compete with larger ones because they're not able to move as quickly. They have the budgets, right? They have, but also at the same time, it takes a year to get that budget in place to do the thing. And as we know, that's how startups work. They're very nimble and very able to move things forward faster. But iterating faster even becomes easier because now you have less people. Like if you have 4 people now that know and are keeping up as much as they can, because
it's like, right.
There's a lot. So you're sharing a lot, right? So if you have those 4 people that know how to use the actual tools out there and are very AI literate and are very capable of developing prompts, I think you can do as much as a team of 16 could do at least 5 years ago. And that is less money, and you can do more with less money, right? Like we were just, kind of thinking about this. We were just talking to someone about doing a project for $100,000 as a proposal, as a round number. It was closer to like 96, but whatever. Yeah. And it was like, okay. We were like, and he's like, I thought the cost of AI was supposed to bring it down. And that's a very valid point. And I'm like, yes, it brought it down to probably a quarter because it would have been $500,000 and taken you a year and a half with a whole bunch of people. And you would have had to go raise that money. Right now, we're offering you a venture to be able to take this opportunity. We'll take on risk. You take on financial risk. We build it out and we work together as this. And we get to a result sooner to make that happen. And we're still working on that deal, but that's the kind of the way things are moving forward. Like Vodi was talking about, like you're able to iterate quicker, you're able to find your market, and you're able to move it out there. And you can have a team of people that manages that particular thing. So it's not like it's all or nothing. You can start to use it as a venture capital using AI and having the ability as a studio to put it out and see what happens.
Yeah, that's the game now. That allows you to execute
my whole game plan.
But that's a lot of the sentiment. It's like that's the whole game of that's the future of the economy. Smaller, leaner teams that are using both AI tools and prompt engineering skills to execute what would take teams or larger entities with more funding to now faster, easier. And so it's a race. It's a race to upskill yourself because there's a lot of there's a ton of opportunity. It's just finding your market, finding your niche, upskilling yourself so that you know how to leverage AI and these AI literacy really to really take advantage both for your career or for your business as well too. I think there's a lot of opportunity on the horizon. Honestly, just to share that.
It is the best time to be an entrepreneur, as Bodhi said. Like it really is. Like, because I've had a bunch of ideas and I have been working on a bunch of ideas, but like for me, it was like I have to get all of this money to bring other people on board or get other people to believe in the idea. Now you can, and I was talking to a VC guy the other day, and he's like, we're just waiting for the one person $1 billion idea. Like at this point in time, like who's going to do that? Like it's going to be one person. And I think I posted this or we were doing a live stream the other day, and the guy Ben AI and the AI conductor sheet of like being able to have the whole organization be all AI. I was like, we're like what, a year away from that? Like with agents, and Google's now got this whole cloud and some crazy ass number of chips on their TPU, the tensor processing units they put out there. Like, I'm like, what? What was it? I'm looking at it right behind. So it's like 9,216 chips per pod, or a total of 14.5 exaflops. Sorry, exaflops. That was the pod that threw me off. Ironwood, the TPU. I'm like, what? Like, it's only exponentially. It's like not even a hockey stick anymore. It's like just a straight up L at this point.
Huge spike of each evolution is just, and such a condensed time too. How fast this is starting to accelerate. Yeah, amazing.
From image generation all the way across to generating obviously text and anything else, and video is like now going through its whole thing. I mean, you see the open source stuff, like the cloud stuff is the best, right? You're paying for the cloud stuff, you're going to get the best result. But like the open source stuff is still like what, only 3 months behind the cloud stuff. Like where the cloud stuff was 3 months ago, that's where open source will be in the next 3 months. Like it's not that big of a gap, and you don't have to spend as much money if you're trying to start on an idea. Build the workflows, use Make, use N8N, figure out what you can do with no money. Sometimes you do have to pay for the subscription. Sometimes if that's the quality of content you want to put out or the quality you want to get back, right? Like it's there, but what is free is not that far behind.
It's all affordable now. What took, I look at the video industry and what are people able to produce on a Hollywood level with tools like Hailu or Luma 2 and stuff like that. These are in the fraction of the cost, and now it's just I see these new careers: AI filmmaker, VFX AI, and so now it's every human is going to have. It's almost like the movie Her. They're going to have their AI agents, workflow tools that are going to assist them in any creative endeavor. Now is not just the only best time for for an entrepreneur, but also for an artist to create things that possibly would take teams and millions of dollars and months to do. Now you could produce in your bedroom for a fraction of the cost. So that's where I find the most exciting is the art projects that people are creatively using these tools and playing with and pushing out the boundaries on that side to write books, to create films, to do all sorts of stuff. And so it's going to boom a whole new industry economy. So I want to just kind of keep pushing the idea of not doom and gloom, not taking away your job, but now it's just there's more opportunity. Now is that it's not, you're not too late or anything like that. Just giving people a lot of hope. And what I can tell with my students is spreading the good gospel of AI, showing them that there are amazing things both commercially and personally that you can do now. Family members I've introduced ChatGPT, and they've written books, and it's like, oh, I've always wanted to write a book, and now it's here, it's able. And so it's an enabling tool that I see it.
And there are going to be so many opportunities going forward for one person, two person operations. I think you start to talk about the creative endeavors, and that's kind of my former background. Like I was musician, engineer, producer in the music business for 25 years, DJ before it was cool.
Let's go.
All that stuff, right? Like I was not a touring DJ. Didn't make millions of dollars as you can do now.
No, but you
But
did.
it was like something that I loved because I love music, and I still do. But at the same time, I know like one of the things that musicians struggle with is this, and artists in general. It's like all I want to do is the thing. I just want to make the art. I don't want to market it. I don't want to do anything else. But I say, my thing is, but now you have the opportunity to control the whole thing. You can make the art, and you're not giving it all away to some record company or some other, production company. You can do everything yourself if you just take the time to learn these valuable assistants that are coming forward that can help you make the thing. Then you can start to actually get more income coming in than you would if you just wrote the script yourself and sold it and spent 4 years of your life trying to sell a script and then not have anything, or you were lucky enough to get it out there and then you're still only getting, whatever the percentage is for the script and the writing and from SAG and all the other things, right? Like there's plus and minuses here. But the time invested isn't as much, right? Yes, you need to learn how to use these to have a career, but you have control over that career versus someone else having control over your own destiny. And that's kind of the way I see it going forward too, for creators.
Yeah, I see that with even just TikTok. I've watched a couple artists go completely independent just through live streaming and pivot their entire career. And that to me is so inspiring that they were working at a restaurant and now because of the discipline or just this is just a new platform to now showcase their work, get the more word out there of what they're doing, and now they have more opportunity that they don't have to go through gatekeepers or stuff like that. Yeah, it's. I mean,
as a person in the music industry back in the 90s and 2000s and into 2010, the gatekeeping was real even then, right? Like the record labels owned everything apart, the studio all the way through the marketing and everything else, and you're paying like a 60% credit card on the money they gave you. Like your royalties never got paid unless you you sold like 1 million records at one point in the industry. You had to sell like 1.2 million records to get like a $500,000 record deal back.
Yeah,
it was crazy, right? Like it's just like, what is this? That's no longer the case. TikTok's paying you based on per view. They, good or bad, it's better than probably what you're going to get off of Spotify, more than likely. And even Spotify, you're getting millions of views. Like, find your niche. And I have to say, like, from the artist perspective, and one of the things that I think about a lot also is it's not about how many followers you have anymore. It's not. This live streaming that TikTok is doing, like, and Twitch, we'll say the other T word, right?
Yeah.
I think that you find your audience through that algorithm. I think the discovery on TikTok is way more important than anything that has ever come across social media. Like, it literally, you can have zero. I think I have like 350 followers right now on TikTok personally. I think probably 300 of them are fake bots pretending to be females because, hey, I want to talk to you. No, you don't. It's not. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm way beyond your age. You don't want to talk to me. I get it. But like, there's still an audience that is, I find, and I think also interacting, being a part of the community, leaving comments that are relevant to the thing and not just leaving some random emoji the easy route. I think that also drives engagement and conversations. As I've come to your lives on many occasions, dropped in some knowledge bombs, you're working on something, like that's what a community is about, right? And I think that's what TikTok wants to see. That's how you find your audience. And that's how people engage, is honesty and finding your niche.
Yeah, I try and stretch or push so much that this is such a small window of time that because what it comes down to is not just the best product or service, it comes down to distribution. And you're right that followers is becoming an irrelevant metric because it comes down to how good content. I treat content as something valuable to someone's life that can benefit them, that's useful. So it comes down, it's almost like a little meritocracy in the sense that you put what you put out, you get back. And this is such a very small time that we're experiencing. Like I was just reflecting right in like 5 seconds ago of like how such a unique conversation that we're having, because we've been connected through the algorithm. All I had to do was just show up consistently. That's all. And the algorithm has been sending people, both you and other people in my community, such amazing people that are super fascinating from around the world that are doing interesting things, but also curious. They want to learn, they want to participate, they want to share. And so this is the new economy in the sense of it's all about sharing. It's all about showing up online. This new form, I treat live streams as a different form of content where it's one way. Now it's interactive. You can answer questions. You can help them, and so this is just the next evolution of the. I don't want to say like creator economy per se, but what you put out, you will get back. The live streams are very beneficial. That the algorithm will do its work. You just have to show up and put out really good value. And this is now the business model.
And like FD said here recently, we're sharing so much gold, but I think also thinking about that statement, it made me realize, like, I watched a video today, and this lady does a lot of marketing. She touches on, I can't remember her name. Damn it, I'll think of it. But the thing that I ran across was she was like, kind of the same conversation. It's not about the followers. It's not even about the likes. It's not even about the comments, right? That's the engagement. What you really want to hit in your content is the shares. You want people to share because that is what will drive the algorithm, because that spreads it even more wide. The algorithm can only do so much, but the sharing to your community, to the people that you know that might be interested in it, is the key aspect of it. So if you can create content that's shareable, then that becomes more important to the algorithm probably than just likes.
That is massive.
I made the same face by myself that you just made. Like, it was like,
yeah,
absolutely 100% correct, right? And I did make a comment, and the comment was like, you also don't want somebody to share something that's on the negative side, right? Like, you don't want, because you're trolling someone and making a trolling video, you don't want people to share that from that aspect. But overall, it really is kind of the bigger thing that maybe TikTok's thinking about as well. Like, the shares probably have more weight than the rest.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the algorithm can only recommend. Think of the algorithm as a friend, and it's sending you stuff, and you're like, that's great. But if you get a comment or a piece of content from your inner circle, that has a huge weight of, oh, it must be. I actually do want to see what they shared. It must be more important and stuff like that. So the virality is in the sharing, and your social network from there, which spreads more content. Which
you share, someone else likes it, they share, and it becomes, and the algorithm's just going, okay, this is liked a lot. There's less interaction. Likes, maybe there's a percentage there of likes versus comments.
Right.
People commenting. And maybe there's some sort of point system in that aspect, but it really was that eye-opening moment. I literally just, once again, sharing that thing that I learned today on TikTok, the very platform that we're on, having this conversation, was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's always like bottom-up kind of interaction, and I've been doing that a lot lately because I think that does drive. I think that gave me the ability to do live streams way sooner than I should be able to. I have like 300 followers, and I got live streams because I think one of my comments was on a very popular person and got 7,000 likes. And then like the day later, I was like, why can I live stream now? That's weird. I was like, oh, it's because I'm human, and I was able to not just put a heart or emoji. I did a thoughtful comment or created something funny that was part of that process, and they realized that there was value in that. And it's all about that value that you add to the community, I think, as well.
That's a huge epiphany. That is such a huge epiphany. But yeah, that's the new. It's giving and sharing. and that is the new social network that's connecting people, that's elevating, that's bringing awareness to new creators, and also brands and stuff, and that's what is the new form of digital value, we'll call it. But wow, that is super valuable. Um,
And I'm gonna look at my under my glasses.
I know.
Viva Tampa Bay asks any recommendations for virtual staging pics.
Oh, that's Gustavo. Gustavo's he's a broker,
Yeah.
and so Gustavo, I'm gonna send you in the community the AI tools, social media thing, so you could get virtual staging and stuff. So I have some of
Is
my
that for
community
real
members
estate?
and so. Say again?
Is that for real estate
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
so real
Okay.
estate, they have a whole suite of tools and that are now basically it's that's the game is I was because I did a
Yes.
presentation yesterday about social media, and the whole thing was just trying to drive. TikTok is where the audience is. The algorithm is different. You need to pump out content, and then the next epiphany bridge is to go live, and that's a huge barrier for a lot of people that are trying. They're stuck in the app. They're on a different platform, and so it's this evolution. It's I don't want to keep saying adapt or die, but it's like the more you adapt, the more that you can unlock more value in this new
Yeah.
way.
I can agree with that too, right? Like I think for me and for the record, not just catering, but your live streaming capabilities is an admirable. I have that ability, and like I did it for a few days, and then I backed off for some reason. So it's like good to see someone consistently showing up, and I'm like, man, I need to get back to doing the live thing. So when you asked me to join, I was like, ah, yes, this is a great opportunity to kind of get back into the rhythm of doing it, because I think I gained so I won't say I gained so many followers, but I did have way more followers in that process
Mm-hmm.
than I do from just random bots that are following me because of scams or whatever. You know, genuine people. I met who showed up earlier. I don't know. She's probably still not here. Claire was a friend that I met through TikTok and through a live stream, and we
Yeah.
started to be chatting back and forth, and like just random people that you meet are awesome
Yeah.
versus not what a lot of the people that you get following you are sometimes.
Or
At
versus
least
it.
at my level, maybe later.
No, you're right. Or any other platform. Let's take it like even there,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not building relationships. You're not meeting interesting people. You're not connecting, and so that's where it's like, yeah, um, this is the new way. My mindset for the last few days has been create, don't consume. Whatever any moment I could do to either create a piece of content or also create a live stream, that's the now push, and I need to go heavy into that because for me that's opened up so much opportunity for you say your net worth is your network as well too. It's opened me up to connect with so many interesting people. I just have to say that or keep that consistency of showing up and committing to this. That's the new game.
Yeah,
It's
100%. Like I think for me, like, and once again, kind of you do live streams, and I'm like always thinking to myself, well, anybody like I'm just sitting here going through a web page. Who's going to find this interesting? To myself, this is the way I think about it. But like at the same time, I also the problem I have is that I don't realize how much I know that other people may not know, and how far into something I am, because I always feel like I'm way behind,
mm-hmm.
and I what I know isn't something that other people don't already,
Right.
and that's the educator part of me always just kind of coming back and going, no, you are in a space that is new that other people need to know about, and so I appreciate you definitely taking the time to invite me up and
Right.
hang out and have these conversations. We'd love to do another one, and maybe we have like more organization around a specific subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know in the future for sure.
Yeah, this is because as I'm evolving in for just like for me as a AI consultant is basically the best way that I can the best way I found always learning is also from the comments you guys from your comments and everyone else is how I've also stayed up to date, and I
Nice.
what motivated me to start inviting people on live is also because I think of it like the late night show. Jay Leno or whoever. It's like that's now the next evolution of learning app, because you're not going to be able to keep up to date on YouTube or Reddit forum or a newsletter, especially with this type of stuff. Now it's inviting people that are curious or have experience in different domains so that we could collectively learn together. This is like the new digital late night show, more or less. But this, I mean, from the comments down below and also on YouTube, everyone right now is literally resonating and saying this has been a fascinating discussion. These are the types of topics that people have in their mind, but they don't have the network around them to feed on, or even to ask the questions to dive deep into, because this is a very exciting time. There's a lot of information out there, and that's the whole goal of basically my live streams and everything else, is to bring clarity to the whole AI space so that people can start to know the direction to take, and then also to from there, it's like we can only share so much. That most of the people down below, the ones that are really going to have the impact, are the ones that are going to take action, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's all about what interests you, what area you're focused on. Do you or don't you have a budget to pay for services? How can you get open source versions for free using Comfy UI to generate images and video, or whether you have other open source models that you can install locally to kind of test and also create content from and share as well. I think it's all about inspiring people that this is a different time period. Like, this is definitely not, they want to call the AI hype has died, but I think it's only just begun. Like, I think, yeah, maybe the models aren't getting bigger and better, every day like they were, a year ago, but at the same time, they're getting bigger, they're getting smaller and better, right?
Yeah.
And that smaller aspect starts to make it more tangible for the regular person. Thinking from a personal computing perspective, all the computers used to be in this big room that was the size of an entire warehouse. Now, move to the personal computer in your lap. That's the same thing that's happening with local and open source models, right? Like, they can be in the cloud, but they're releasing free and open source versions for you to tinker with and play with at home that are way better than the large language models that were a year ago, right? Like, with smaller parameters that you can run. So I highly recommend finding something, whatever your budget is, it's out there. Start using it. Start figuring out how to prompt engineer and develop a system that works for you. Develop a system, like for me, like it was developing a specific system to accomplish one task. How can I make this as simple as possible that someone else can do, that I can hand off to them and go, here, this is for you. And all they have to do is like change a status symbol inside of a productivity app and make it as easy as possible.
Nice. That's beautiful. Where can people get in touch with you? Just a recap, because we had also a lot of new people coming in, and they're like, "Yo, he's super fascinating." Like, so just like reintroduce yourself.
Yeah.
To all the.
Our company is Post Architects. Architects is with a K, ARCHITEKTS .ai. We have an AI platform that we work with clients on. That there is a 14-day trial. Hit me up on hit us up on the support contact, and then we'll set you up with a 14-day trial. Obviously, we don't need 1,000 people starting to jump in, so we want to leverage our API credits as best as we can to make sure that you're getting the best you can. And then let's stay in contact. I also am on YouTube. I have this channel. I have a Post Architects channel on TikTok as well, where it's more focused towards business aspects. Nice. I haven't posted as much. I am now inspired to post because of this live. I feel obligated to make more content now. So thank you, Jonathan, for bringing me on and lifting me up to become more comfortable in showing my face and being part of live streams and answering questions for people.
You have a ton of new interest and followers that have gone. We've all learned so much just from this alone. So I want to grateful, and it's Dale, correct? Or
Yeah, it is
Dale?
Dale Adams.
Dale.
Yeah.
You're amazing, Dale. I've seen you in the
Thanks,
comments,
brother.
and I really want to just express gratitude for, because it's the people that participate, is the people that also share value in the comments. That those are the ones that I'm going to say, like, those are the people that are going to take, are at the forefront, and then anything I could do to share, help promote. It's a collaborative kind of thing. I'm just providing the platform, if anything, to bring on amazing people so that we all learn up to date at the end of the day, because we're all still students at the end of the day, and we're all learning from each other. So the more that we can share, the more that we can all take full advantage of this wonderful opportunity and time. And there's AI is going to bring a whole new level of opportunity for each and every one of us. So
Yeah. I look forward to like that's kind of been my passion, educating and onboarding, taking that on as my own personal responsibility of like how can we get this out there to make people, you know, be aware and move forward in their progress along the way, and how can we measure that and be able to hold them and say, hey, here's where you started off. You knew what AI was, and now here's a whole workflow you built yourself that you understand, that you put together, where you were able to put together the workflow that makes the workflow, right? Like, I mean, now it's kind of getting to that point. No coding our way to, hey, I'm just going to tell the AI to build the thing for me that I built the AI to do. So it's like that whole process is still very, very important to me, and I'm glad to be a part of this and join, and let's collaborate and build a whole bunch of really cool stuff together, y'all.
I'm excited for the future. Dale, you're amazing. Everyone, go and please follow Dale and stay up to date. And then for my whole thing is AI community. We have courses, training, workshops, and mentorship to help you take advantage of just upskilling. That's all we're here for. It's just upskilling each entrepreneur to leverage AI in the business, so you guys have the skills to start building solutions to give you guys the opportunity that you're looking for. So I want to applaud Dale and everyone else. Say thank you so much, Dale, for coming on. This has been such a treat, and we're gonna have more of these types of interviews. So thank you so much, Dale. Hope you have a great day.
Appreciate it, Robin. Have a good one.
There. Bye. Nice. Everyone on YouTube, this was a first test. I'm going to do a better job of trying to how to live stream YouTube to live stream. Well, technically, when I get my Streamlabs access back, this is only intermediate that I don't have my Streamlabs access back. Once I get my Streamlabs access back, then I'll be able to do this live stream. We could see people on TikTok and YouTube as well too, so we could get back to our normal thing. So this is kind of like trying to make do with what I have as far as I was to put the mic. I was like trying to shove the mic into the phone, so I was like, come on, pick up the audio. But awesome. I appreciate everyone on YouTube listening. We go live 6 p.m., 10 p.m. Actually, it's mostly just the 6 p.m. for the show there. Mike wasn't great, but we could hear it. Yeah, it's going to get better. I'm going to figure out, this is the first time inviting guests and then trying to cross-platform. I'm trying to figure out that workflow, but I'm going to make it better in the future. So this worked out. I appreciate each and every one, especially Sharon. You're amazing. You're an angel. So Floyd, Sharon, you guys are awesome. I'll definitely see you guys